Top 10 Bizarre and Offbeat Stories Involving Serial Killers. Welcome back to Creepshow, where we shine a light on the chilling and often bizarre tales that lurk in the shadows of criminal history. Serial killers have always fascinated us, but what about the odd twists and turns of their stories that remain buried beneath the surface? Today we're diving into the top 10 bizarre and offbeat stories involving serial killers that might just surprise you. From psychics who intervene to outlaw connections with notorious murderers, these tales blend the eerie with the unbelievable. So, prepare yourself for a journey into the strangest corners of true crime. Number 10. Psychic helps woman evade Casanova Killer. Paul John Knowles, infamously known as the Casanova Killer, is believed to have murdered anywhere between 18 and 35 women. His reign of terror came to an end in 1974 when he was killed while in custody after attempting to grab the handgun from the sheriff escorting him. One woman who encountered Knowles described him as ruggedly handsome, which contributed to his notorious moniker. However, there was another woman in Knowles' life who managed to escape his deadly clutches thanks to the warning of a psychic. Angela Kovic, a recent divorcee from California, began corresponding with Knowles during the early 1970s while he was imprisoned for lesser offenses. Convinced she had found her dream man, Kovic even used her own money to provide legal counsel for him. In May 1974, she successfully secured his release on parole. With Knowles out of Florida State Prison in Rayford, he flew to San Francisco to meet Kovic, who was excited about their future together. However, in the meantime, she consulted with a psychic who ominously warned her of a new, dangerous man entering her life. Taking the warning to heart, Kovic broke off the engagement after meeting Knowles in person. The Casanova Killer later claimed that this rejection made him so furious that he went out and killed 3 people that night, although this assertion has never been verified. This bizarre twist of fate highlights the strange intersections between intuition and true crime, leaving us to ponder what could have happened had Kovic not heeded the psychic's warning. Number 9. Mystic healer or serial killer. There exists a chilling subgroup of serial killers who are drawn to the medical industry, and one such individual has gained infamy for his actions, yet remains largely unknown outside of his native China. His name is Hu Wanlin, a supposed mystic healer who claims to have killed at least 16 people through his controversial practices. Hu believes that water is the root cause of all illnesses and promotes severe dehydration as a form of treatment. In rural China, where traditional medicine holds significant sway, his methods found a willing audience, allowing him to become a wealthy and respected figure, even while he was inadvertently killing his patients. Remarkably, Hu was permitted to start his practice even while incarcerated for the murder of a businessman. During his time as a healer, 13 people died under his care before his so-called healing operation was halted in 1996. However, Chinese authorities struggled to prove that Hu was intentionally causing these deaths, which led to his release in 2000. Almost immediately after regaining his freedom, Hu resumed his practices and killed 3 more individuals. Eventually, he was sentenced to 15 years in prison for practicing medicine without a license. For reasons that remain unclear, Hu was released early, and by 2014, he had established a new healing retreat. Tragically, among his first group of patients was a young college student who died after ingesting a dehydrating substance provided by Hu. This disturbing pattern of behavior raises questions about the intersections of belief, healing, and the dark potential that can lurk behind the facade of medical practice. Number 8. Serial killer appears on game show. John William Cooper is an English serial killer who gained his first 15 minutes of fame decades before his true nature was exposed, thanks to a television appearance on a popular British game show. His story parallels that of American killer Rodney Alcala, who appeared on The Dating Game during the 1970s while in the midst of his murder spree. The show in question was called Bullseye, a program that combined a quiz show with a darts game. Cooper's episode aired on May 28, 1989, just 4 years after he murdered siblings Richard and Helen Thomas inside their farmhouse in Scoveston Park. A month after his Bullseye appearance, Cooper went on to kill Peter and Gwenda Dixon, who were holidaying in Pembrokeshire. After robbing the couple, he shot them point blank with a shotgun, marking another brutal act in his string of crimes. Cooper was initially arrested in 1998 and sentenced to 14 years in prison for multiple robberies and burglaries. However, following his release in January 2009, advances in forensic technology allowed investigators to connect him to the 4 unsolved murders. A few months later, Cooper was arrested again after police matched his shotgun to the weapon used in the murders. During his trial, Cooper's bullseye appearance became a crucial piece of evidence, as he bore a striking resemblance to a sketch of a man seen near the second crime scene. Ultimately, he was sentenced to life in prison, forever cementing his notoriety as a killer who once briefly basked in the limelight of television. Number 7. Kenneth Bianchi, LAPD. It has often been said that serial killers have an obsession with law enforcement, drawn to the allure of authority. This was certainly true for Kenneth Bianchi, one of the infamous Hillside Stranglers. He took courses in psychology and police science at his local community college, but dropped out before graduating. After his application to the sheriff's department was rejected, Bianchi worked as a security guard, but frequently switched jobs due to his poor work ethic and a penchant for stealing. Bianchi's life took a dark turn when he moved to Los Angeles to live with his older cousin, Angelo Buono. The two began working as pimps, but their plan to build a big clientele quickly unraveled when they were ripped off by a prostitute named Deborah Noble. In their fury over the betrayal, Bianchi and Buono sought revenge, but Noble had successfully disappeared, leaving them frustrated and enraged. Instead, they targeted her friend Yolanda Washington, who tragically became the first known victim of the Hillside Stranglers. Despite the horrific nature of his actions, Bianchi's ambitions in law enforcement did not wane. Amidst his crimes, he enrolled in a ride-along program with the LAPD. Ironically, he often discussed the Hillside Strangler case, even trying to assist the police in solving it. However, when Buono discovered Bianchi's activities, he flew into a rage, threatening to kill him if he didn't leave the city. This bizarre twist of events showcases the chilling intersection of ambition and brutality, as Bianchi tried to walk the line between criminal and lawman while leaving a trail of horror in his wake. Number 6. The Identity of Bible John. Peter Tobin is a Scottish serial killer currently serving life in prison for the rapes and murders of 3 women between 1991 and 2006. However, given that Tobin was already in his mid-40s when he killed his first known victim, police strongly suspected he was responsible for other killings as well. In response, they initiated Operation Anagram, a thorough investigation into Tobin's past that sought potential victims as far back as the 1960s. This inquiry uncovered several possible connections to one of Scotland's most notorious unidentified killers, Bible John. Bible John is infamously known for killing 3 women between 1968 and 1969 after meeting them at the Barrowland Ballroom in Glasgow. The sister of one of the victims described the killer as someone who characterized himself as deeply religious, often quoting passages from the Bible, which ultimately led to his chilling moniker. Interestingly, Tobin lived in Glasgow during the late 1960s. According to his first wife, he frequented the Barrowland Ballroom. The couple moved away in 1969. Around the same time, Bible John ceased his killing spree. There were striking similarities between a young Tobin and the sketch of Bible John, and Tobin himself was noted to have been deeply religious. After the case was featured on the television program Crime Watch, numerous women came forward, claiming they had been approached, threatened, and in at least one instance, raped by Tobin at the Barrowland Ballroom. In the minds of many, there is little doubt that Peter Tobin is indeed Bible John. However, due to improper storage, DNA samples from the Bible John case had deteriorated to the point where successful testing was no longer possible. As a result, the suspicions against Tobin remain unproven, leaving a lingering mystery in the annals of criminal history. Number 5. The Haunting of Fox Hollow Farm. At first glance, Fox Hollow Farm in Hamilton County, Indiana, seemed like an idyllic place to live. It was the original home of a local businessman, featuring a large farmhouse and a spare apartment. When Rob and Vicky Graves purchased the property, they felt it was too good to be true. Despite the eerie history disclosed by the realtor, that Fox Hollow Farm used to belong to alleged serial killer Herb Baumeister, they went through with the sale. Baumeister is only considered an alleged killer because he committed suicide before he could be brought to trial and never confessed to any wrongdoing. However, police were investigating him for the murders of up to 20 men, including 11 whose remains were discovered buried in his backyard. His guilt is hardly in doubt. Not long after moving in, the Graves began experiencing unsettling paranormal phenomena. Rob's co-worker, Joe LeBlanc, who moved into the spare apartment, reported similar occurrences. Both men claimed to have seen people that weren't there, heard strange noises, and experienced knocking at doors. On one alarming occasion, Joe believed something tried to pull him under while he was swimming in the pool. Convinced that the farm was haunted, the Graves sought to understand the disturbances. Their experiences resonated with many others, and over the past 5 years, Fox Hollow Farm has gained notoriety. It has been featured on paranormal television shows such as Ghost Hunters and Paranormal Witness, as well as in a documentary exploring the haunting of Herb Baumeister's former killing grounds. The combination of the tragic history and the unsettling events continues to draw interest, leaving visitors to wonder about the dark echoes of the past that linger in the shadows of this once peaceful farm. Number 4. Was Jack the Ripper actually a Jill? The mystery of Jack the Ripper has captivated professional criminologists and amateur sleuths alike, inspiring countless books and theories about the identity of the infamous killer known as Saucy Jack. These theories range from the plausible to the utterly ridiculous, but one intriguing possibility stands out. What if the killer was actually a woman? Supporters of this theory suggest that a female murderer could have posed as a midwife, allowing her to move through the streets at odd hours without raising suspicion, even if she was seen covered in blood. This idea challenges the long-held assumption that only a man could commit such horrific acts. Several female suspects have been proposed as potential candidates for Jill the Ripper. One of the earliest was Constance Kent, who shocked Victorian England in 1860 when she murdered her little brother. After spending 20 years in prison, she was released just a few years before the Ripper killings began. However, records indicate that she immigrated to Australia in 1886, making her unlikely to be involved. Another contender, Mary Piercy, was convicted of 2 gruesome murders in 1890, raising eyebrows due to the brutality of her crimes. Then there's Lizzie Halliday, an Irish woman with a particularly dark history. She was known to have killed up to 4 husbands, a stepson, and 2 other women, mutilating 2 of the bodies in the process. Although Halliday moved to the United States at a young age, some ripperologists note that she vanished in the early 1880s and resurfaced in Philadelphia during the winter of 1888, shortly after the last known Ripper victim was murdered. While institutionalized, Halliday reportedly spoke often about the Whitechapel murders, leading one local sheriff to declare that there was no doubt about her involvement in the killings. The possibility that Jack the Ripper could have been a Jill adds a fascinating layer to this enduring mystery, suggesting that the true identity of one of history's most notorious killers may be far more complex than previously imagined. Number 3. The death metal Satanist killer cult. In 2004, Italian police made a shocking arrest when they apprehended Andrea Volpe for the murder of his ex-girlfriend. He had shot her and then buried her alive. This gruesome act raised immediate red flags, particularly as others in Volpe's life had mysteriously disappeared over the years. Back in 1998, Volpe was a member of a death metal band called the Beasts of Satan. The band and their friends were known devotees of Satanism, with many expressing a disturbing fascination with murder and the occult. Among the missing persons was 16-year-old Fabio Tollis, who vanished in January along with his girlfriend, Chiara Marino. Initially, their friends and the police believed the young couple had run away together, but Volpe's arrest opened a new avenue of investigation. Under pressure, Volpe confessed that Tallis and Marino had been murdered by the beasts of Satan. He revealed that the couple had been taken into the woods, where they were beaten and stabbed in a ritualistic manner. The police and prosecution faced a daunting task in establishing the full extent of the involvement of others in these horrific crimes. Initially, only the ringleader Volpe and his accomplice Pietro Guerrieri were sentenced to 30 and 16 years, respectively, after confessing. However, as the investigation unfolded, 5 more members of what was described as a satanic sect were subsequently charged. The chilling combination of music, ritualistic violence, and the allure of the occult paints a disturbing picture of how deeply dark obsessions can manifest, leaving a trail of horror that lingers in the shadows of society. Number 2. Servant Girl, Annihilator. Identified? The Servant Girl Annihilator was a notorious figure active in Austin, Texas, between 1884 and 1885. This killer primarily targeted women, resulting in 8 confirmed murders and several injuries. The brutality of the crimes, coupled with the killer's spree ending just a couple of years before the infamous Jack the Ripper case began in Whitechapel, has led some to speculate that the same murderer may have transitioned to London. However, a modern investigation challenges this assertion and claims to have identified the true identity of the Servant Girl Annihilator. In 2014, the PBS show History Detectives examined the case and pointed to a 19-year-old black cook named Nathan Elgin as a potential suspect. Evidence suggests Elgin had a violent disposition. He was gunned down by police after assaulting a woman in a saloon and resisting arrest. Interestingly, the killings in Austin ceased following Elgin's death, raising questions about his possible involvement. The pivotal piece of evidence came from Elgin's autopsy, which revealed that he had a missing pinky toe. This detail matched footprints left at several of the crime scenes, providing circumstantial evidence that strongly indicates Nathan Elgin could indeed have been the Servant Girl Annihilator. While nothing is conclusively proven, this investigation sheds light on a chilling chapter in Austin's history and adds a layer of complexity to the narrative surrounding one of America's early serial killers. Number 1. Wild West outlaw helps catch serial killer. Marion Hedgepeth was an outlaw known for his handsome features, earning him monikers like the Debonair Bandit. However, beneath his good looks, Hedgepeth was a dangerous gunslinger, involved in numerous robberies, primarily with the infamous Sly Wilson gang. In 1892, Hedgepeth's life took a turn when he was captured by the Pinkertons and sentenced to 25 years in prison. While incarcerated, he met a man named H.M. Howard, who was soon released on bail. Before leaving, Howard shared a bold scheme with Hedgepeth, a plan to con an insurance company out of $10,000 by faking someone's death. Howard promised the cowboy a $500 commission if he could provide the name of a lawyer willing to assist with the con. Hedgepeth recommended Jephthah Howe. What Hedgepeth didn't know was that H.M. Howard was actually H.H. Holmes, a notorious figure in his own right. Eventually, Holmes executed the scam with the help of Howe and a man named Benjamin Pitezel, who was meant to play the role of the victim. However, Holmes altered the plan dramatically. He ended up killing Pitezel and later murdered his children as well. Murder aside, the insurance company paid out, and everyone involved got their share. Everyone except Hedgepeth. Unsurprisingly, Holmes never reached out to him to fulfill his promise of $500. In retaliation, Hedgepeth decided to take action. He sent a letter to the police warning them of Holmes' scheme. This crucial information led Detective Frank Geyer onto Holmes' trail, eventually uncovering the horrors that took place at the infamous murder castle. Thanks for joining us on this strange and unsettling journey through the bizarre tales of serial killers. These stories remind us that truth can often be stranger than fiction, revealing unexpected connections and chilling coincidences. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the offbeat side of true crime, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell for more spine-tingling content. What was the most shocking story for you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and keep watching the shadows, because you never know what might be lurking there.